Hello. Um, Now, Elvira Nabiulina, does that name sound familiar? She is the head of Russia's central bank. Is she at fault at the moment? I believe she is. I believe she has enabled Putin, and therefore she can be held accountable for her actions. There are many people in this situation. Russia is full of people who have been fed lies and pushed to do jobs that enable the criminals in the Kremlin. How responsible they are for that is for others later to decide, but they are certainly not innocent. Putin and his team are big on threats, but the follow-up seems unfocused. Now, some people are taking that to be a sign of optimism, a good thing, because it means that he is uncertain. I take it as something significantly more worrying. He's making this up as he goes along, and he has significantly more weapons to throw at Ukraine, and if necessary, elsewhere. His threats at the moment, what are they about? They could be about strengthening his negotiating position in the talks with Ukraine. My own thought about the talks with Ukraine is at the moment they are largely an illusion. It doesn't mean we shouldn't get on with them. I think we should. But I don't think Russia's very serious at the moment, or at least I don't think the Kremlin is very serious. It has its own particular agendum, and it will persist with that for quite some time. Putin is looking at his own legacy and his next election, and he will continue to project an illusion of strength at all costs. That's why today at noon there's going to be a broadcast to children in Russia. That's why from today, teachers across Russia have been given instructions about what they are to tell children of all ages in school, and universities have been given similar instructions. Now, those who enable Mr. Putin and the Kremlin, therefore must surely include the Ministry of Education. I remember meeting the Minister of Education, a complete twit. But those who enable Putin must ultimately answer for what they are doing. And as for everybody else, what is possible? Can people actually go out and protest? In the West, we've got this idea that the war is seen as a disaster by the Russians. Well, that's if they look on the internet. The majority of Russians listen to Kremlin-dictated propaganda through the national channels, through channels like NTV. I've already had experience of NTV. NTV is a liar. NTV interviewed me a few times, and put completely fake words into my mouth. If it can do it to me, it can surely do it to anyone else. Its whole raison d'etre is deceit. But we come to a much bigger problem. Can people protest? Now, in the West, we're used to the possibility of running off to Trafalgar Square with a placard and marching in a crowd. In Russia, if you did this, you would risk being beaten, arrested, charged, hospitalized, strip searched, intimidated. This is as a routine. And we are edging to the point where I think Mr. Putin may well put Russia under military rule, may well invoke martial law, and that will bring with it even more restrictions for the people, and there will be even less chance for the people to protest. Now, why is this so important at the moment? Because I think across Russia, the issue of the Ukraine was not really on the horizon a couple of months ago at all. And it's hit people rather suddenly. And they're just beginning to wake up to the reality. And the reality is that this war, which should have been very quick, is now going to drag on and on and on. It is going to be a talking point. There will be people who want to protest. And if those people are slowly waking up to this reality, then so is the Kremlin. And I think the call today for schools to be indoctrinated, for children to listen to the Kremlin broadcast, and then to be fed this diet of verbiage and rubbish about who is responsible for this war, I think this is the Kremlin's first stab at controlling the way the people will respond to this war. And that worries me. That worries me greatly. This war cannot end well. It's either going to be, it's going to be a disaster for Russia, but it could be a disaster or catastrophe on a much broader and much bigger scale. And Mr. Putin, I don't think Mr. Putin thinks he has anything to lose. Sorry to start the day off with such a negative message, but there we are.